Heads up, folks, that the episode we're about to discuss involves scenes of sexual assault, and we will be discussing those scenes and the issue of rape specifically of men by women and those tropes in media. If that's something you're not comfortable watching today, totally understand, and we'll see you in another episode. So,
yes.
At least it's not Jeremiah Crichton.
That's always our refrain.
Yeah. So let's get to it anyway. Hi, friends.
Howdy, y'all.
Hello and welcome.
It's Muppet Sex and Drama. I'm Sara Ezzat. I make the Fat Culture Critic videos on YouTube.
I'm Josh Gosdin. I'm a big old nerd.
And I'm Zylla Black.
Yeah, Zylla's with us again.
Of Zylla's Athenaeum.
Yes, Zylla is our resident archaeology knowing person.
Yes, we open our episode this time on an archaeological dig, and I immediately go, oh, I know why they wanted me on this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can help us decipher the children's tile.
That was very weird. That's very weird.
The whole thing's very weird.
This whole episode is very weird. Prophets are very weird, and time wibbliness is very weird, and well, the date rape pheromone seductress thing, that at least is not very weird. I've seen that a dozen times before, and it bothers me just as much every time, but at least they framed it as assault this time.
It is a deconstructed trope in this episode, that's for sure.
Yeah. So let's get into it. What Was Lost was written by Justin Monjo and directed by Rowan Woods. Once upon a time, the planet Arnask was home to a civilization dedicated to peace, until some unknown enemy attacked them with a weapon called the Darnez Triangle, made up of 3 probes, which when they landed somehow disrupted the planet's magnetics, making it toxic, except for a brief period every 20 cycles. Legend has it that if one can find and reactivate all 3 probes, the planet would be safe again. It's now 12,000 cycles later, and Jewel has joined a team of archaeologists to study the planet, and she brought Dargo with her, much to the displeasure of the expedition's leader, Vela. Granny is also here, and there is a random fishman. It's a mostly happy reunion when John and Shiana arrive, Rigel and Sikozu staying in orbit to care for the aging Leviathan Elak and his pilot. As glad as John is to see everyone, he wants answers about what happened to Moya and where is Aaron. But instead of answers, Granny drugs him again and sends him on a vision quest. He sees the destruction of the planet, including where the probes fell. While he's out of it, someone kills Vela. It seems she found 2 of the probes, and someone did not want her to find the 3rd. It looks like we're setting up for a classic whodunit. But wait, here come the Peacekeepers. And there's been a few changes. Grayza is now the top dom. She's promoted Braca, and she's got Scorpy on a tight leash. Literally. She captures Shiana, Granny, and John, though Dargo gets away with the timely intervention of Sikozu, and Granny also escapes pretty quick. They, and we, have no choice but to watch as Grayza uses some kind of scent drug to coerce John into sex. He is still reeling from that when Granny finds him. She's concerned that her earlier visions accidentally showed him where the 3rd probe was, and fears he might tell Grayza under her influence. Granny's solution is to drug him again and send him off a cliff to his death. Ah, Granny. Luckily, the random fishman saves him and brings him to Dargo and Sikozu. She immediately understands what's up with Grayza. She has a gland implanted that emits oil that makes men horny and compliant. Here's the thing. Dargo and Sikozu have an escape plan, but it requires John to distract Grayza, putting herself under her power again. They're desperate enough for him to accept. First, he tries to delay by taunting her that she really is just Scorpy's lackey. And she demonstrates her independence by getting Braca to shoot Scorpy in front of John and Sikozu, who may or may not be a turncoat. She's about to shoot Sikozu as well, but a not completely dead Scorpius gives Sikozu a safe word that stops Grayza. Okay, she might be a turncoat, she might be a spy. Ooh, the Peacekeepers are willing to trust her, sorta. And Grayza wants more time with John. Well, that's happening. Sikozu bluffs her way into the cell where the rest of the girls are being held and busts them out. John is finally able to get control of his senses thanks to a mind-numbing insect that Granny told him about. Turning the tables on Grayza, he frees himself and leaves her a bit tied up. He connects with Dargo, who has the rest of the plan. Rigel has been convincing Elak and his pilot to crash into the Peacekeeper Marauders while the rest of them fly off in Dargo's ship. It's a workable plan. The only thing is Elak drops a bit too soon with Rigel still on board. A bit of last-minute heroics makes it mostly work with Rigel flying free. There is, however, one Marauder left, and Grayza and Braca fly off in that chasing after our crew. Or they think they do, but our crew are actually forced to land back on the planet. And now they are running out of time before the magnetics go all toxic and floofy again. Luckily, John knows where the last probe is. After a fight with the fishman, who was a bad guy all along, John has the probe. It's a race against time, but hey presto, probe's reverso, and our nest is a happy planet again. Plus bonus, those old priests are resurrected. Well, that's neat. Sometime later, the crew prepares to leave, but first they must say farewell to Jewel, who will be staying to help the priests rebuild. And with that, our crew are off on their travels again. Initial thoughts?
Zylla?
I love how they presented Jewel's love of archaeology and history. That made me extremely happy. I love that not only is she just like her whole backstory is apparently about archaeology and wanting to study it, and like the idea that there is shared history linking the most humanoid of the humanoid species. That's very cool. I like that idea. I like the tone of it. Archaeology and knowledge of history is something that I very much feel brings us together. The more we learn about the past, the more we learn about ourselves. I think I've said this before. But I also was just thinking, do we really have to have this woman? Like, do we really? Does she have to?
Grayza?
Yeah. I mean, we saw. You had me watch the episode where she's introduced too, and I think I said at the time, I was just like, do we have to? Like, does it always have to be the sexy vixen villain?
Well, Grayza would say yes, but then Grayza would always try to tell everybody what to do.
Indeed.
I think because Farscape is what Farscape is, and it is known as the one American trip through Australia's BDSM scene. You kind of need a femdom to show up at some point.
Sure.
I just and there's aspects of her I find interesting, but the date rape pheromones.
It's not even really a date.
Yeah.
Nobody bought dinner. It's not a date.
Yeah. As John points out, she didn't go about that part. There's no six pack. It's no schmoozing.
And I do like that they give it more seriousness than a sexual assault of a male usually was given in this period of time.
Significantly.
But also, it's not enough serious. And it really bothers me that it's what bothers me most is the scene where Dargo asks him to go back.
Yep. That's what I was just thinking.
And it's just no. And it's like the whole take one for the team. No.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah. No. I no. And also I don't want to watch John get repeatedly seduced against his will. I don't how many times we're going to say the word in this episode because like and
Quite a
especially
lot.
because they do well, it's framed as assault by the narrative. Some of the visual framing is romantic. And it's so ick.
It's very ick.
Just I like this episode is not well thought of in the fandom, and part of the reason is because it's just ick. There's also like the plot is soup. But like what is the random fish man doing here? Why is Granny doing any of this? But yeah,
I mean, you can't like the prophet didn't bother me, Granny, whatever. Just thinking of her as oh, well, we don't have what's his face with the mask anymore, so they wanted somebody else to say random ominous things. All right, whatever. But they imply so heavily that the Fishman is one of the priests visually. Like, they imply that all through the episode. Because every time they show the priests, they have the same kind of face.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I actually was not terribly put out by his presence. And then the twist was like, all right, yeah, whatever. Like, if you're the last of the fishmen, you probably want that.
He was the bad guy all along. Yeah, so these were some dense episodes. Like a lot happened, not just plot wise, but it seemed like there were a lot of seeds being planted for the future, and not subtly. Like anytime.
Speaking of which, so Erin's pregnant somehow.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that we got that in the last couple episodes.
Yeah, so I guess their species aren't all that distantly related after all. What do you know? But yeah, there's so much going on here. I don't know when they picked up Granny, but that's very like really here have a randomness machine who occasionally throws out plot devices.
She turned up on the season finale to basically give Crichton therapy against his will by also just randomly throwing drugs in his face.
Cool. There's a lot of violation of Crichton's autonomy going on here.
Yeah, that's part of what I mean when I say that a lot happened in these pair of episodes. Like my man John got ground up like sausage and unceremoniously spat out. It was just not fun.
No.
Like the drama surrounding previous times when John has been tortured, or like the Aurora chair, which makes a return in this episode, was like engrossing, and I was pulled into the drama around John's torture for some reason. But in this episode, John continuously being tortured and assaulted and drugged and drowned and fish smacked, and like everything was just exhausting.
Yeah. At one point, Graza says, "My interrogations are a lot more pleasant than Scorpius's," and I just go, "No, they're not."
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Torture by pleasure is also a thing. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it better.
But still torture. Like that's the first word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I did warn you there's a couple scenes in the previously on that we just have never seen previously on. They were taken out of taken out of the previous episode because they didn't fit, and they stuck them here, and they just confuse everybody more. And I don't know that we actually needed previously on scenes to establish that Baraka had turned on Scorpius and
no, that seemed pretty clear.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been remotely surprising. He turned on Krace for Scorpius previously. Like he just blows with the wind.
Yeah. So I don't know why it all ends up being confusing.
The torture of Scorpius and the bootlicking thing was like, what is even the point? Like, I think
so. Part of why I found this particular use of the femme fatale so off-putting is because, while it makes perfect sense that everybody in the peacekeeper realm has some kind of relationship with power. Like we've seen that over and over. Like everybody is either calling for power, or they're exercising their power, or they're in someone else's power. Like that's been well established. It's fascism, it's Nazis, we're here. B, John has been tortured by the peacekeepers. He's been tortured by Krace. He's been tortured by Scorpius, and like has just had the shit kicked out of him any number of times by any number of other peacekeepers. But it has never been so blatantly sexual as until they introduced a good-looking actress.
Mm-hmm.
There was subtext to some of his torture scenes at Scorpius's hands, and it's very easy to read a sexual assault reading on top of what he is going through in those episodes. But this was, to me, we have hot girl. We must make hot girl hot in a production decision.
Yeah. Sarah, I think you mentioned that you have seen Stargate SG-1. Josh, I don't know if you have.
I have. Yeah. Not every single Stargate SG-1, but I have. I'm familiar with the plot of the characters.
So there is a character in that, Hathor, who Yep. Yeah, we all know exactly where I'm going with this. This is the same plot device. She has the poison ivy ability to produce pheromones that make the men just her slaves, and it is obnoxious. It is obnoxious, and it is degrading, and it is not. One thing I'll say about it, like the reason that I was more okay with this in the extent that they did frame it as assault on John and on Raka, for that matter, is because Hathor and Poison Ivy, for that matter, when they use this technique, it is titillating. Like it's intended to be titillating, very clearly. It's like, oh, imagine a woman that powerful. Like, imagine being her love slave. Isn't that great? Mm-hmm. And especially with Poison Ivy, you sometimes get the, well, isn't this a woman's power fantasy? And it's like, no, it really isn't. Like, there's no part of that is a woman's power fantasy. That is a man's fantasy of being, in a woman's power. Mm-hmm. Very, very clearly.
I mean, there are a lot of women in the world. I can't say true that none of them have had this fantasy.
That may be true, but it's just not.
It's definitely not any woman I've known.
Yeah.
It's like when people say that the big buff bare-chested superheroes are for the woman's gaze. They're being sexualized for a woman's gaze, and it's like, no, that's not what that means. That's still the male power fantasy at work there.
Yeah. Sometimes,
that doesn't mean it can't be pleasing to an individual.
But most of the time,
you're saying. But it's just it's just so off-putting.
It's. I think part of it also is the notion that this was written instead of everyday people that we actually encounter out in the real world, and so this was somebody somewhere thought this would be cool,
Yeah, and I think with this, I don't know if they were trying to be titillating or if they were trying to show how disturbing this trope actually is.
It didn't seem like the production knew either.
I think that's the problem you were highlighting.
I kind of feel like some of the production is aware and some of it is not, and it's like it kind of feels like it's at war with itself, kind of in a similar way that to bring it back to Jeremiah Crichton, like Josh, if you remember, it sort of was like some part of the thing was being racist and some part of it was trying to comment on the racism, and it just ended up being like yes. And I get a similar kind of thing here, and I think it's where we really, really feel the moment in time of this being the very early 2000s is there's an awareness that this is wrong and fucked up, but they're still doing it. And then and also commenting, and it just kind of ends up being this big ball of
Yeah, I feel like the actors do a very good job overall. Like,
yes,
Crichton particularly does a very good job portraying being entranced and being repulsed at the same time, and like the reaction that he has where he's like, I'll go back to the sea rather than doing that again.
It was like the very end of the first part after they have their beachside interrogation, Grayza and Crichton, that we cut back to Crichton up on the cliff, curled up in a ball.
Yeah. He looks like a lost little boy.
And then
I've seen people assume that position right after a trauma.
And then the granny, who in some form or fashion the narrative seems to want me to root for, sidles up next to him, and while he's that emotionally distraught, drugs him again.
Yep.
And not just drugs him, but attempts to induce suicide.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucked up on at least 8 levels.
Yeah. It is between that and Dargo, his best friend, telling him to take it for the team. Like, it's just, these moments are just so fucked up that it's just I just like, I don't know what you're doing, because you seem to be aware that you're showing us rape, but you're also still showing us rape with swelling like music on the beach, and what the fuck are you doing? Like, aside from is it a murder mystery? What the hell is the fishman doing here? What on earth is Granny trying to accomplish in this episode?
Yeah. All valid questions.
It's very much not clear to me how Granny's thing works.
And also giving us Jules' best work right before Tammy McIntosh leaves the show.
Yeah.
Oh, Jewel was so good in this episode. Oh my gosh. Speaking of racism, that was that was the most realistic racism moment I have ever seen. And with the appropriate consequences too. Yeah. And like, it worked so well. I was really impressed by that. And I just.
And then Grayza arrives.
Right.
Also, may I say, usually I am a Chiana fan, but in this episode, fuck Chiana. She breaks a potentially priceless artifact for no dang reason. You could just say, I'm bored and walk away. No one's keeping you there.
We established in the last scene that Chiana has recently been traumatized, and she's being bratty as a coping mechanism.
I mean, I guess at least she asked if it was valuable first, but like, she didn't get the answer no. She got the answer I don't know, which is the correct answer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, really the answer is yes. It's an archaeological artifact in situ. John put that down. Gianna, don't you dare.
Yeah.
But like, I would totally be in Jules' shoes in terms of the dig, of just like, I need to show you everything. I need to tell you how important this is. This is the coolest thing we've ever found. Hey, look, it's another example of that really cool thing on the wall. And then like her advisor is like, there's one on every wall. I'm like, are you an archaeologist or not?
Yeah, Vela sucks. And also, the portrayal of archaeologists as thieves is kind of not not a bad one.
No,
very Indiana Jones.
Yeah. She is not there out of interest, like Jewel. She is there to find these triangles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Jewel loves archaeology. Vela is just looking for treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And those are very different things. Not that they're often portrayed as different things. So again, good on the show.
Yeah.
But the idea of the knowledge that you can gain of the past and how important it can be to the present and the future is something that we really just don't often get shown in TV. And I think it was the first time you brought me on where we had that they get transported back into the past, and that in the nunnery or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
And like, again, with the, like, if you don't understand the situation that was here in the past, it becomes really fraught. And just how easy it is to paper over the past with the narrative that you want. But here, like, we have a real archaeological site with we're actually doing the work to uncover artifacts gently. We're actually showing you the tools that they're using are the stupidly dangerous thing, whatever. But like, when it comes to uncovering what was there, it's actually incredibly gentle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's very reminiscent of the way that real archaeologists treat their sites, right? With the gentlest tools, trying to keep things where they were, trying to make sure that you don't damage what's underneath, and sort of find out what the context was. Of course, Vela has this stack of unbroken artifacts on a tray, which is kind of annoying. But there is a perfectly legitimate reason that they could be there. It just was clearly not in the show, which is often on archaeological digs. When you have a find that requires special attention, like a pot that is covered in some kind of painting, and you need to be extra gentle getting that off, you might take it to a treatment site before you put it back where it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were some nice looking artifacts on that tray, and I wish I thought that they had a treatment site there, but it really did not look that way.
Yeah, it's like we're almost set up for an interesting sort of murder mystery and archaeology and all that stuff, and I want to dig more into the issue that Jewel has with yeah, and I want to dig more into like the scene with Jewel and Dargo, and then Greyza crashes in, and we have to
Greyza comes and hijacks our whole discussion.
Yeah, and like it feels like there were multiple episodes, not just 2 episodes as a two-parter, but like several actual episodes crashed together.
Yeah, we really didn't.
None of them get explored.
The Peacekeeper plot at all for this.
It's a separate story,
and
it is part of the wider story, and there are some aspects of it that I like. It's really interesting. It's interesting to see Scorpius sort of brought low. after everything that he's done to John, there is and particularly the fact that John is disturbed by him being brought low is an interesting thing.
Which is in line with John's character. He also was able to find empathy for Grace.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing Scorpius brought low, and I'm really trying to not get sidetracked on the Grays of it all. But seeing Scorpius brought low and seeing, that they're using a different rod to fuck with him, and then also realizing that he is as much playing a part as he ever is, because he has learned to survive, as the Aurora chair flashbacks remind us. All of that was really great, and the very brief encounter between him and Sikozu is a tasty morsel of what might come. Let's say, a lot of foreshadowing in this episode that even I, as somebody who's never seen this show before, was like, oh, they're foreshadowing something with this.
Right. Sikozu. There's a person I don't know anything about.
She was introduced last episode. She is a annoying little know-it-all that nobody trusts.
Yes, that much I got.
That's all we know so far.
I was very perplexed by the deal with her hair. Why did she take it down?
She's done that a couple of times so far in her appearance. Her hair has changed depending upon what she's doing, and we don't really know why yet.
So, as someone with curly hair, it is. I don't think. I'm assuming that her hair is not naturally curly, which is why she did it up in those different sections to get that look. But if she was just putting her hair up to get it out of the way, you would never go through all of that hassle, because putting your hair up in that many knots is annoying. And they were real tight. And then she takes it down, and I'm thinking, okay, is this something to do with trying to look like Jewel with the orange curly hair, right? And I'm like, no, she's not making any attempt to otherwise look like that race. And then she comes up to Braca, and she's like, I'm your promotion. And I'm like, are we having a double seduction thing go on? Because I don't think this one is as effective, and it's also very weird. And I'm like, okay, so did she take her hair down specifically to do this sort of seduction thing? And then there's no seduction happening at all. So it's I don't get her. I don't think I'm supposed to get her right now. That's fine, but I don't get writer-wise why she's doing anything. The only thing that she does here is that moment with Scorpius, where she reports that he's dead when he's not.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, she doesn't do anything the other characters weren't taking care of.
I think the part of the thing with the hair is that it's high maintenance, because that's who she is.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the few things that we have established quite quickly about her, is that she is a lot.
So she is the replacement Jewel.
Yeah, kinda, because I don't think they ever quite figured out what to do with Jewel until basically that she's leaving, and which is because Tammy McIntosh got a better job.
Good for her.
I think they have a clearer perspective, at least in her introduction last episode. We got a clearer perspective on who Jewel is, just that she's this kind of ruthless, annoying, know-it-all with no actual practical knowledge. And now we see that she also doesn't seem to have any kind of morality or trustworthiness at all, because is she betraying them, or is she pretending to betray them, or is she what the hell? She just, I think she, like all the rest, kind of suffer from either trying to do too much or too little in this episode. She does. One of my highlights is the stuff with the three girls escaping.
That I love that scene. That's my jam. That's my girl power fantasy. Is
like. Are you going to beat her up? No, I'm going to beat her up. Let me have this.
Yeah, and the peacekeeper soldiers here are just truly deeply stupid, like dumber than Sunnydale cops, kind of.
Very stupid.
Dumber than
and I'm fine with
it.
Yeah, like they were there, and I'm like, why are they? Are there actually humans in those costumes? Because they didn't. Okay.
Yeah, they're supposed to be, but they're like less than a foot away, and they're completely.
They just don't do anything.
The people, it's like these are dumber than stormtroopers.
Like they let the girls melt the handcuffs, have a discussion about it, and then turn and look at them in a Charlie's Angel pose without reacting at all, and it's fucking awesome. Like I don't care. I'm here for it.
It's like, yeah, we get something fun in this torture episode. The other thing about this episode I do find interesting that I noticed more on this rewatch than before is that kind of what they think they're trying to do with the Darnaz triangle and Granny is we have another impossibly powerful weapon that John is accidentally given the knowledge about that somebody wants out of his head.
I caught the parallels, yes.
Yes. And so, yeah, we're doing a kind of a quick run. And Granny kind of stands in for the ancients on that. But I don't know that we're really doing anything with it.
No, not very much. It was really interesting that in the interrogations, Grayza goes on about, we don't have to just talk about this thing that I'm obviously interested in. You can tell me about other stuff. And he just gives her the wormhole shtick. He does not talk about the triangle.
Yeah, because I don't think he understands what the hell is going on with the triangle.
To his credit, neither do we.
Nor would science. But I did also enjoy the percussive maintenance aspect of it. How do we activate it? Just jam it in the ground and kick it.
Yeah.
That doesn't work, I'll shoot it.
So we're a bit short on time today. So we're gonna have to kind of wrap this up. And we have made 0 sense of this episode, except that we hate it. I still kind of do like an element of Grayza in that she's doing gender differently than we see in the Peacekeepers, and I find that interesting. But I really hate what they do with it. And
that's usually your jam, but they misfire here hard.
Yeah, it just I don't know.
I gotta say, I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I didn't hate the episodes. I just didn't.
Like I had a fun ride. I assumed that there was some stuff going on that I didn't understand, which predictably. But I really think that it would have been better without the Peacekeepers in it. And like if we got some more time for to see Granny get tricked by the fish person, that would make things make a lot more sense. Oh, there was one more thing about the archaeology that I wanted to say, which is that when the Lost Temple reappears, and I'm not going to go into what the fuck about that too much because I don't know. But when they ask Jewel to make a decision on whether or not to go talk to them, she has to make a decision about not only approaching essentially an alien culture, but also about where she as an archaeologist fits. And I really respect them for going with, I need to help them. I think that was the right call. I think that was really well done and really well acted. And I appreciated that.
Good growth for Jewel too.
Yeah.
But there's so much in archaeology that is fraught with ethical questions of like, who are we to disturb this? Who are we to take things from this ancient culture and say that we understand them? Who are we to remove objects, right? And Jewel has really grown from the girl who got in trouble for stealing artifacts off of digs to the archaeologist who wants to help the people who actually live that experience.
Yeah, it could have been an interesting episode. I think you really need to split this into the Arnask as a separate thing than the Peacekeeper, and not have a date rape.
Yeah,
just flatly avoid that.
just don't do that. Just don't. Or if you're going to make it a femme fatale seductress thing, just take out the pheromone trope. That's so tired and so gross.
I mean, we already, like, back in the heisty episode, we had the spider woman who was somewhat seductive while torturing, and that worked.
It did, because it was subtext.
Yes. And I mean, there is something about like making the subtext that's been with John and Crichton and making it text that I think this does. I think once you do this, it establishes that it retroactively establishes the subtext with John and Crichton as being, or
John and Scorpius,
yes, as being somewhat more clearly text. But yeah, let's just not do this.
Let's just not.
Let's just not do this.
Yeah. One last observation I'd like to make is that so obviously one of the big pieces of this is going to be important foreshadowing that it was impossible for me to miss was concretely establishing that there is some kind of a link between the Interions, the humans, and the Sebaceans. And I found it very interesting that in the same episode where we established that a common trait among all three is racism, like is supremacy. And I feel like that was really meaty commentary that, again, got lost in all the Grey's noise.
Yeah.
Because the Peacekeepers being an allegory for fascism or for white supremacy or any number of other things is one thing. But when we directly link humans, Sebaceans, and Interions together, and then we see the racism that Jewel is having to deprogram herself from, like, that makes it much more interesting commentary that I was wishing was developed more and hoping might be developed more. And that's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah, some things were an opportunity they could have taken up, but
small note here: we didn't actually end up talking about the tile, which was not a tile, but the symbol being the Egyptian Wadjet eye is really weird, and I don't get it.
I as an Egyptian, I just I have seen that Egyptian-y stuff in fiction just gets used as a stand-in for old. It's just like it's the go-to ancient is let's just stick an Eye of Horus on it. And I wish that they had done something more thoughtful than that here, but I think that's just basically it's really, really old, and you won't recognize old Sumerian stuff, so we're going to stick old Egyptian stuff.
Why not just pick a symbol from Mohenjo-Daro? Like, who cares? But I guess John wouldn't recognize that. So
yeah. No, whenever they want to go for something that is recognizable, really, 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 really old, you just stick something in Egyptian on it, and the audience goes, "Ooh, that's really, really, really old," and I know nothing else about it. Which
yeah.
It was also on the wall early in the episode, and I was like, "What the heck?"
Yeah,
I saw that.
I mean, personally, I love an Eye of Horus. I think it's cool. I love Horus. I love Egyptian-y stuff. It's just that movie Egyptian-y stuff often just doesn't have any more thought into it other than This is really, really old and cool.
Mm.
And even though there's space there to comment, is there space to comment on the racism stuff, and we think we're superior, and we think we're just gonna take your shit and stick it in a museum on our there's room to comment on all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Grayza
appears. So anyway,
Grayza's all too present bosom.
Yeah. And as much as I love a hot woman in a suit with cleavage, I don't in this case.
Yeah. This is not one of those times.
And the actress is great, but it's just
she does play it extremely well.
Yeah,
including being very gross about it.
Like it's just ick. It's ick. And yeah, there's a reason why I gave you all a warning about this episode, because at least it's not violent. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the title of the next episode?
Hit me.
Lava's a many-splendored thing.
Lava? I love a good pun. I really do. I'm a big fan of puns.
Yeah. So, next episode, be prepared for some body humor. But thankfully, there won't be any rape.
Yay!
That's all I ask for my television. That's really all I ask for my television.
Oh God, we're laughing because otherwise
we just
scream.
This would be much worse. Yeah.
So I hope this didn't trigger anyone, and I think it should go without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. That male victims are as valid as any other victims, regardless of I know some laws are stupid, but yeah, if a person is forced to have sex that they do not want to have, that is rape, and it doesn't matter whose bits are where. It's
sexual coercion is always wrong.
Yeah.
No matter who is where involved.
Yep.
Appreciate y'all saying it.
And I suggest if anyone wants to look into it, Pop Culture Detective did a couple of excellent videos about the phenomenon of sexual assault of males, or people perceived as males, we should say, on their YouTube channel, and I'll see. Maybe I'll add the link and folks can check that out.
They have a particular take that I like, which is about how we are trained by the media to think of it as funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't say that better myself.
So, for all the mess, what was your favorite bit? Zylla?
100% Jewel getting so excited over the archaeology and just like bouncing in place, wanting to tell everybody about it. Oh my God, I want more of this. Let's do this.
For me, it was the fish man just having his own little jump scare moment after John dove into the water after him, of erupting in front of John and just giving him the widest, hardest, open-handedest fish slap anybody has ever given anybody. It was just so out of nowhere. Like that was I cackled when that happened. So that was a good time.
That was even over the three women being their moment of badass.
Even over that, because I've gotten thanks to the media I consume, I've gotten that before. I rarely get a good fish slap.
For me, it is the conversations, the two conversations between Dargo and Jewel. That is just complex and interesting, and we needed more of that. And especially Jewel humbling herself at the end and recognizing his virtues, and that what she should have said.
That was a really good apology. I love that.
And also not favorite, but most heartbreaking moment is Ben's fetal position moment.
Yeah.
That is just so
that was rough.
Viscerally
heart-wrenching.
relatable.
And it's not a favorite because it's not something I enjoy, but I think it's one of his best moments of acting in the series.
Mm-hmm.
In just this little moment, he conveys the seriousness that the writing and the production haven't grasped.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
On the complete opposite end, my second favorite bit was, do these pants like make my ass look fat?
Braca was taking a minute to consider.
Braca! you wanted to know if Braca was still alive, so there we are.
My question has been answered, thankfully.
Braca is a bit like a cockroach. He always survives. Yeah. So, we will be back in 2 weeks with Lava's a Very Splendid Thing. Find a guest for that. Editing, Sara here. Our guest for next episode will be Ren the Barbarian. Is that Ren the Barbarian the YouTuber? Yes, Ren the Barbarian the YouTuber. I would also note for anyone with issues around vomit, the next episode has a fair bit of that. Okay. In the meantime, I would like to announce that you two will be joining me, among others, on the 8th of December. We will be doing a live reading on my channel of Much Ado About Nothing in aid of Trans Lifeline. So come and watch and donate. And, it's going to be a largely non-cis cast. Those of us who are cis are going to be supporting roles for mostly a trans and NB starring bunch, which I think should, we're just going to try and have a good time and rave some spirits and rave some fun. Because we need to.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that, thank you very much for joining us, Zylla.
A pleasure as always.
And where can the folks find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Zylla's Athenaeum, or on Twitch, Twitter, or Mastodon. Oh, not Twitter. What am I saying? Twitter's dead. Blue Sky. So Twitch, Blue Sky, or Mastodon at Zyllable, which is syllable with a Z.
Nice.
Yep. Josh?
You can find me frozen in a moment of time, only revealed when our planet's magnetic field is corrected. And also Instagram.
Okay. We'll have to get you over to Blue Sky at some point, now that it's taking off. And I am Sara Ezzat. You can find me at The Fat Culture Critic on YouTube, or Blue Sky, and I'm mostly off Twitter now. I'm really just use it to let you know when stuff is coming out. So, yeah. And, come join us for Much Ado. Come back in 2 weeks for Lava's a Mendy Splendid Thing. Yep.
That was good.
It's one of those titles I just keep. It's a Lava this fun thing. Yep. Anyway, yes. Please come back and visit with us soon, and we'll have Zylla back again.
Sounds good. Bye, y'all.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Just go with
cutting it out. It'll be so fast. It's all good.
so.